welcome back to the channel for another great educational trombone video. Today I'm going to talk about 3 different things that I believe will help you take your trombone playing to the next level. Whatever that level may be, whether you're a high school player trying to audition for college, or you're trying to make the wind ensemble in college, or you're a new young professional and you're trying to just clean up this little bit for the next orchestra gig. These 3 strategies are going to help you massively to make improvements in your playing and help you reach that next goal, whatever it may be. So just a quick note before we start, please subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel so much and it costs you nothing. Not only that, it'll keep you notified about when new videos come out so you don't miss any of the trombone tips or awesome cover videos that I do every Wednesday. So again, go ahead, click that little red button. I think I'm pointing at it, but maybe it's over there. Either way, click the little subscribe button and it helps out the channel, so thank you so much. Okay, on to the video. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about today is playing with drone notes. I find that playing with drone notes is the best way to practice intonation. Obviously you can play with a tuner, but this is more similar to what it's like playing in an ensemble. So having a solid intonation on the trombone is a tough ask because there are so many things that change the pitch for us, be it the embouchure or slightly missing a slide position or not depressing the valve fast enough or something like that, right? For me, what I've found out in my playing and in my time speaking with other colleagues is that it turns out that the best trombone players don't always put the slide in the right position. They adjust quickly based on what they hear to make it sound in tune as quickly as possible. So sometimes you put the slide in the wrong position, but just adjust, and figuring out which way to adjust and how much is what separates the best trombone players from other folks who are professional even. So if you can adjust really quickly as in the right direction as many times as possible, you can play well in tune. And this is where drones come into your practice and playing. So my first note about drones though is, and I'm going to put a link in the description to this, these are the drones that I use. I use them off of YouTube. They're called cello drones for tuning and improvisation. Normally, I play along with the drone note on the loudest speaker I own, which happens to be this orange Bluetooth speaker. But just to be able to better demonstrate for the video, I'm going to play with my headphones on today. That way, I think it's going to come across a little bit better in the video so that you can understand exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about some of these fine detail things. So anyway, to play along with the drone, I have 2 basic exercises that I think really help me to be able to adjust better with better speed and with more reliability. So first, I play basic scales with whatever key the drone is in. So I go to these YouTube videos and I go to the playlist and I hit shuffle. Whatever note it ends up, let's say E flat. Let's pick E flat for this video. I'll play the E flat major scale in a specific pattern, and I'll really focus on what does it sound like as I play each note. What does it feel like when I really lock in that 5th, when I really lock in that B flat, or playing the minor third, the G flat, versus the G natural, the major third. What do these feel like as I play these scales? So as you can see from the example, I play these scales very slowly, and I focus, like I said, on what does it feel like to play each note? What does it sound like? What are my ears really hearing when I play each note? Does this particular note grate up against the drone note, or does this particular note have a really nice ringing quality against the drone note? By playing these scales, especially in every key, you'll start to feel relationships between the drone note, be it a fifth or a third or a major seventh, say. So by doing these exercises, you're really understanding what it feels like, and you're training your muscle memory to hit the right spot as often as possible. And when you don't hit the right spot, you're training your muscle memory to adjust quickly and reliably in the right direction. These are really important skills that help you a ton in an ensemble setting. The next exercise I do with drones is to play the drone note and move the slide ultra slowly in either direction, like this. So where the scalar exercise focuses on how to move your arm and slide and put each note where it sounds in tune, this exercise focuses on training your ear for what it sounds like and what it feels like to be in tune. By moving very slowly, you're able to hear what I call waves or beads of the sound. When a note is not quite in tune, it produces this wavy, beady pattern because the sound waves are grating up against each other, not moving in total sync. When the waves move in sync, this is in tune. When they're not quite, this is out of tune. So this is another incredibly important skill, being able to listen for these waves or beads or beats, whatever you want to call it, in the sound, because this will tell you if you're headed in the right direction or the wrong direction. One other quick thing I like to mention about drone playing is a conversation that I had with a colleague in an ensemble, and this person played so incredibly in tune. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind when I was a young player. And so I asked him, how do you play so in tune all the time? And what he told me was that he's constantly actively trying to play in tune. And you may say to yourself, yeah, so am I, right? But this person really thought about it every single note. Every single note he was adjusting to the person around him and trying his best to figure out exactly where that note belonged in the chord. And for us as trombone players, playing in tune never goes away. We always are going to have the slide and the challenges of the instrument that we play, so we've got to always be focused on trying our best to play in tune and listening for these beads and listening for the relationship between the intervals that we're playing and the notes that we're playing so that we can try our best to play in tune. So the next technique I'd like to talk about is flutter tonguing. Flutter tonguing is a great way to ensure that you're using the proper air and embouchure in any given passage, be it a loud passage or a soft passage, doesn't matter. But I find flutter tonguing helps me a ton when I feel like I'm not getting the connection between notes in say a legato style passage or a slurred passage. The other issue that flutter tonguing has helped me to take out of my playing or fix from my playing, right, is the absolutely dreaded double buzz that we hear from the bass trombone sometimes. So just a quick note about flutter tonguing. Some of you watching might not know what I'm talking about when I say flutter tonguing. And basically what it is playing while rolling your tongue, like you would if you were saying R in Spanish, right? This is flutter tonguing. You do this while you play, and that makes sure that you're moving the air, because if you're not moving the air, your tongue is going to stop. So the first exercise that I have for flutter tonguing is to make sure that the airstream is solid and continuous, especially through a legato style or slurred passage. For us bass trombone players, I like to do this on the orchestral excerpt from Schumann's Rhenish Symphony, the Third Symphony. To me, the goal of this excerpt is to show an audition committee that you can play with a nice, constant, connected tone. That's the number one objective for this excerpt. Not to play softly, not to wow with your flashy technique, but just to show that you can have a nice, continuous legato style. So to help that, I use flutter tonguing like this. So especially in this excerpt, it does have a softer volume. It's a very long phrase that you want to keep as connected as possible. It's easy to let the air just relax just a tiny bit, and oh, now you have a no speaky. So flutter tonguing helps this because, like I said earlier, when you're flutter tonguing, you've got to keep using the proper amount of air, because if you don't, your tongue is going to stop and it's going to alert you right away that you're not using enough air. So the next thing that flutter tonguing helped me with dramatically is the double buzz. And more generally, just how to set up my embouchure for any given note. So I started playing an exercise like this, where you play a note with the flutter tongue, crescendo, and decrescendo. It turned out that the flutter tongue was helping me to set my embouchure that worked at all volumes, not just softly. This helped especially later on in my playing career when I started to get the double buzz in a different register. And I had this experience, and so I thought, oh, let me try with the flutter tongue and see if that helps me to set the embouchure better. Flutter tonguing was exactly what I needed to fix this double buzz that I was getting. Okay, one more tip, and this one's a great one. Okay, so the last thing I'd like to talk about is the air attack. What do I mean by air attack? I mean starting a note without using your tongue, only with your air. Air attacks work very, very well to make sure that you're starting each note with the proper airspeed instantly, that you've created just a slight bit of compression and then you release it very, very rapidly. So often when playing articulated patterns, especially at lower volumes, it's easy to start a note with not enough air and the front is not as solid as you'd like it to be. So air attacks force you to already set your embouchure and burst the air that you've compressed slightly. So by taking your tongue out of the equation for air attacks, you allow yourself to focus only on these two aspects, the embouchure and the burst of air at the front of the note. So again, like many of the other ones today, I have two ways that I practice air attacks. The first exercise that I like to do comes from the book of all books, the Arbin's book. I like to flip through this book and do air attacks on different exercises. I do these slowly normally with the air attack, and I really make sure that I'm starting each note exactly in time. So be careful when you're doing this exercise. At first, you want to make sure that your focus is on having a nice, clear front to each note. No pwa style. Pwa, right? No pwa. We want ha, okay? Being able to start notes like this is a crucial skill, especially in orchestral trombone playing. I've found that when you're sitting in the back row, you need to have a nice, clear beginning to each note to be able to project your rhythm all the way to the back of the hall, especially in soft rhythmic patterns. So when you feel comfortable with air attacks on this sort of thing, try to add the tongue back in, but keep the same clean articulation on each note, making no difference between air attack and tongue attack. Okay, the next thing I like to do with air attacks, I've heard it called a few different names: clap notes, crack notes, thunder notes, I've heard, but I heard crack notes first, and so that's what I like. The idea with this exercise is to make each note very loud and very short, like the crack of a whip or a lightning strike. So first, pick a comfortable register and play with air attacks as loud and as short as possible, like this. By doing this, you're making sure that your embouchure is already set before you play, and that you're having the proper compression to burst the air. Especially when playing notes of this style, it's very important to have the proper compression before bursting the air, because you need to have so much air to play at such a volume. The air articulations require this compression and release, instant release. So without the tongue, this is how we start the note. And these crack notes make sure that you're doing it very, very quickly and your embouchure is already set. So I love these as a way of making sure that those two things are working. So thank you so much for checking out the video and for following along with these 3 practice strategies that I have found to bring my playing to the next level. And I'm sure that they're going to help you as well. These 3 things are going to help you so much to feel more in control of your trombone playing, which is what we're after, right? You'll be able to listen more closely for your intonation by playing with the drones, and control your air with the flutter tonguing, and at the beginnings of the notes with the air attacks. No matter what you're faced with, these 3 things will help you to better master the technique of the instrument and allow you to focus now on what kind of music you want to project to the audience. So again, thank you so much for checking out the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. There's a new video every Wednesday. Sometimes it's these educational trombone videos, and sometimes it's awesome cover videos of so many different styles of music. But I promise you one thing, you're not going to want to miss any of it.